Hi everyone, welcome to the channel dedicated to sharing the profound insights and wisdom of Andromedan contactee Alex Collier. If you're new here, you're in for a journey that expands your mind and consciousness, bringing you closer to understanding the messages from the fifth density Andromedan extraterrestrials. For those returning, we're grateful for your continued support. Before we dive into today's enlightening content, we have a small favor to ask. If you find value in the knowledge shared in this video, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your engagement helps us amplify Alex Collier's message, allowing us to reach a larger audience with these vital messages. We'd also love to hear from you, so please engage with the comments below. Whether it's a question, your thoughts, or even just an emoji for the sake of engagement, every comment counts. We read every single comment, and your feedback is incredibly valuable to us, as it all contributes to our mission of expanding this community. So please don't hesitate to leave your thoughts below. Additionally, if you'd like to support us further, consider giving a super thanks tip by clicking the heart with the $sign. This small gesture allows us to continue bringing you more of Alex's messages, unfiltered and directly from his lifelong experiences with the Andromedans. Today's video includes a compilation of several of the many important questions Alex Collier has received over the past few years, so please sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video.
How do the A's remember their past lives? How do they separate their experiences in each lifetime? What is it about their physical bodies that helps them to live longer? And is it because of the better tech or just because they have a better attitude towards their own health?
That's a good question. They're not born with the blind. They are 6 and 7 strand DNA. Their typical lifespan in our way of counting linear time is approximately 2,000 to 2,300 years. So the fact that they come in and they already know who they are on a soul level, which encapsulates, as far as I know, all of their known knowledge. When they step into the civilization and they reach a certain age of maturity physically, they can then begin to start to contribute their knowledge and everything else to their society, to their civilization. This is, again, called the law of consistency. They go to school anywhere from 150 to 200 years. They are learned all the arts and sciences, and then what it is then they choose how they want to contribute. And they can change their mind as to the venue and the avenue they use to contribute to society and do something else. But they have all the knowledge. It's given to them. And understand the sciences are not necessarily all focused on spiritual because they're born with full consciousness. It's more the physical sciences that they're born into that they have to learn because technology changes. Fifth density is not third density, not in any way, shape, and form. And, you know, I've talked about specific things that I've experienced myself being in their presence. One thing that I've never shared ever till now is water. I made an attempt to drink their water and I was stopped because even though it's water, it has mineral elements that are not on our periodic table here on Earth. And I was told that if I drank their water, it would be toxic to me. So they had water for me that was identical to that which we drink here. Identical to a well water, let's say, that had been softened, that had all the mineral elements that my body is accustomed to. They didn't think it was a good idea to introduce anything especially mineral elements that I had never had before, and that no human being on Earth had ever experienced. It was the same with the shower. I had to wear the belt when I bathed so that when the water entered the frequency of the belt, it would automatically be altered to that of Earth. It would eliminate that particular, those mineral elements that my body would never recognize. So there are a lot of things like that that we're all going to have to be cognizant of in the future, especially when we do space travel. You know, we're going to go to Mars. There are different mineral elements there than we have on Earth. The same will be with Venus. The same will be with Ganymede and Mimas and Io and some of the other moons, the new moons that have been brought in here. Many of them have atmosphere. But they're going to be different. They're going to be entirely different worlds than what we're used to. And that's just on a physical level. On the spiritual level, meeting with other races, that's going to be open up an entirely new world for us as well, of knowledge, of perspectives on how to look at things, the universe, the world, the isness, the God, the creation, ourselves. It's going to be remarkable. And I have every faith that humanity can step up and move into these areas and do these things efficiently once we become aware of it. I mean, we adapt very, very well. We're survivors. I mean, you know, when the true history of the planet's laid out for us, we've had a lot of shit thrown at us as a race. We really have. You know, so many challenges, and here we're still here. You know, bearing children, looking for love, wanting families. I mean, there is so much to be proud of. There really is. There's so much to be proud of, and so many things we're going to look back at with such regret. But with that regret will be the awareness that there was a tremendous amount of manipulation and coercion that went along with some of the actions and things that we regret. It will balance itself out, as it always does. And once we come into a place of forgiveness, then we move forward, then we move on. And you know, it's an interesting thing about forgiveness. It's not always forgiveness that propels us to move on. Okay, it's not sometimes always about forgiveness. Sometimes it's about actually just seeing and acknowledging beings for who they are. They are who they are. Their motivations are what they are. Especially those who aren't us. When we see people for who they are, for beings for who they really are, and we acknowledge that's just who they are, then we can move on. We don't have to sit there and rationalize how or why they would do something that we would not approve of, or that would bring us harm or pain. They just are that way. So that's also part of the process of learning to move on. You know,
How do you see Earth this time next year? What can we look forward to in terms of technology, health, disclosure, and justice for the dark entities forces?
A year from now, we're probably still going to be going through disclosure. A year from now, we're also probably going to be having a lot of local conversations about how to run our communities, and in particular, our states. This is assuming if everything goes well. If everything goes well, the biggest changes are going to be how we manage our local governments. That's number one. Number two is, if all goes well, the federal government that we have now, the corporate federal government established in 1871, will no longer be in existence. It will be bankrupt. However, the transitioning from that back to the organic original Constitution of 1791 is going to take some time, because we have not lived under that since 1871. And so there's going to be a re-education going on across the board. The biggest thing is that the people are going to have to stand up and say, look, we have rights. We have a Bill of Rights, and you are going to obey it, and you are going to honor it, and you're never going to pull this kind of bullshit again on the people. You're not going to arbitrarily just make up rights and privileges that you don't have, that no one consented to give you. So that's going to be the first thing. The second will, of course, be on a local level, how we manage ourselves with our community. What does that look like? We're going to have to do a lot of redefining. And part of that's going to be coming from the disclosure of all the corruption, the disclosure of the child trafficking and other horrible, horrible things that will be coming forward. It's going to cause us to have to look at the world in a different way, and especially how we're going to interact with it. When we abdicated management of our government and we allowed professional politicians to take over, and we allowed them to become compromised through PACs, political action committees, military industrial complex, the medical mafia industrial complex. When we allowed that to happen, and to allow these contractors, these large international corporations, to begin to write laws which ensured that they were going to be able to make a profit off of the people, that's where it all went wrong. The founding fathers really didn't want a democracy. That's why they created a constitutional republic, because they understood that if 51% decided they didn't like what the 49% were doing, they could literally just take over. The reason they created a constitutional republic is that no matter what happens, no matter which party is in power, everyone is protected by individual liberties, such as the Bill of Rights. We've allowed our governments, both federal and state, to erode those rights. And that is literally the foundation of the United States of America. Remember, America, the United States, is not the government. It is not the states. It is the people in the states which make up the government. The people were here first. They created colonies, then they created states, then they created the federal government. That's the order it was founded in, and that's the order it was supposed to stay in. It wasn't supposed to be what it is today. Federal government becomes God, and everyone else is a serf. That is not at all how it was meant to be. If you want that, then there's a lot of third world countries you can go to. You can go to China. They'll be more than happy to teach you their God. And other countries. That's not what America was meant to be, the United States, ever. So I also think we're going to dramatically change our educational system. I think the educational system has been horribly compromised. And I want to go back to prior to, I think it was 1954, when the federal government created the Department of Education. All school curriculum was done on a state and local level. And our kids excelled. They were in the top 3 or 4 of the entire world when it came to education. The minute we put the federal government in charge of it, it went down the frickin' tubes. Okay? Another lesson learned. Now, I'm not anti-government. I'm anti-corrupt government, and we all should be. And I'm also anti-incompetent government. And we've seen a lot of that, a lot of incompetence. I also think there should be a constitutional amendment that before any law is passed in Congress, it has to pass the states first, so that we get the chance to read it, actually read it, and talk about it, and decide whether or not it's even worthy of going before Congress. Because after all, it's we the people who are stuck with it. If we don't like it, if it doesn't work, if it's corrupt, if it's crooked, etc., we're the ones who are stuck with it, and future generations. Therefore, that's what I think we should do. Now, that's on a local level. On a global level, I think there's going to be dramatic change everywhere. I believe it's probably going to take a little while for some of the technologies to roll. It may be 2, 3, 4, 5 years before we see a lot of things that occur. However, there are things that they can do now. For example, cold fusion. We have that technology, and it has been perfected. It roughly costs $4 to $5 million, I think, at this point, to create a cold fusion reactor that literally could probably power a very large city like New York, Los Angeles, maybe bigger units that could power an entire state. I think something of that magnitude should be something that every state should go to. I think we should build systematic redundancy everywhere. We shouldn't be dependent on a grid. For example, here in Colorado, because of all the military bases, we still have coal reactors, coal furnaces to generate electricity for the entire state. So if the grid goes down, within 36 hours, we can, using coal, return on the factories, the furnaces, and produce our own energy here for the state of Colorado. I don't understand why that's not being done everywhere. It's redundancy. We live on a planet that's alive. She's moving, she's shifting, she's changing. All of this should be done everywhere, where you have backups to your backups. Because, what's the priority here? It's the people. Okay, it's not the system, it's the people. There'd be no system if it weren't for the people. So the people have to be the priority. Their comfort, their safety, their security, their well-being has to be the priority. And we around the world should absolutely insist on this and not expect to pay for all the bullshit that's gone on the planet already. And all of it rolls downhill on top of us. And then we're treated like dirt from our governments and our politicians, our elected officials. I think term limits around the world. If we are going to have a one world government and everyone agrees with that, it should be based on the United States Constitution. That should be the only model we would even consider. And the states the 10th Amendment, which recognizes the sovereignty of states and those rights given only to the government, which if those rights do not reside with the government, they reside with the states. That could easily be changed into individual countries. It works. And with the Bill of Rights, it guarantees liberties and freedoms to everyone. And if anybody falls out of line, everyone comes down on that particular government that's out of line. But again, the people have to manage this. We have to stand up for ourselves no matter where we are in the world. Because we can't go backwards. We don't want to go backwards. The other thing is once all the disclosures come, we're going to have to take some responsibility for the things that have occurred, the things that have happened. Now, granted, we didn't do it. Granted, we didn't know about it. But once we know, once the genie's out of the bottle, we have to, from this point on, be extremely diligent in making sure that nothing like this ever happens again. That we protect every citizen on this planet. That we make a pact with each other, regardless of race, creed, anything, that we have each other's back. That we have each other's back. We don't depend on the government. We don't depend on anybody else. We don't depend on off-worlders. That we have each other's back. And in that, we will come together as a civilization, as a race. And in that, we will probably, for the first time, actually see ourselves as one race, like they do, the off-worlders do. They see us as one race. Even the regressives do, but they know exactly how to manipulate humanity, and they've done a masterful job, and we keep falling for this bullshit all the time. We have got to be smarter than this. Okay? We need to be proactive. We need to use more of our intuition so that we can intuit changes that are coming and manipulations, that we can see the manipulations coming so that we don't have to react, but we can react. Not react, but act against these things before they get to a place where they divide the tribes of man. At some point, we're going to leave the Earth and travel into space. Actually, technically, we already are. But it's a very small group, a selected group, selected bloodlines, blood types. But all of humanity deserves the freedom to explore. That might take another 50 years. I think by the next 100, 125 years, it'll be like Star Trek here. It could happen that quickly, really. But no matter where we go, we have got to act responsible. We've got to behave ourselves. We can't act like hoods and thugs out there. We can't mimic what's already been going on by certain sections of the 3 different space forces that exist on this planet. And act with malice. We just can't do that. Okay? That's what's brought all this trouble to the planet already. I think our lifespans will extend probably within the next 10 years, 10, 15 years, certainly within 20, that the average lifespan could be at least 120. For some, it may even go longer. I think the medical mafia The medical establishment is going to do a complete 180. Now, we know the body is color, light, and sound, but it does, because it's in a physical form, in a dimension that's very physical, need nutrition. I think the emphasis is going to be on nutrition. We're going to be growing mostly organic foods. Other foods will be created, probably with the assistance of star nations off-world, that will give us more nutrition with less food. So we won't need to eat as much, and there'll be more food to pass around to everyone on the planet and to share with the colonies that we will be establishing, whether it's Mars, Venus, or some of the moons in our solar system. I think flying cars will become a reality. I'm excited about that. Flying cars will become a reality. In the next 50 years, for sure. It may even be 25. There are some that already work. I know that the FAA has already put together a team to write a flight guide so that everyone who buys a flying car has a pilot's license. So that's exciting stuff, you know. The military will probably use it first, and then it will roll out for commercial purposes. I think entertainment is going to dramatically change. At least I hope it does. I think what's going to happen is as we learn about the history of humanity, as we learn about our body types and which star nations are our genetic brethren, I think the emphasis is going to be from distraction solely to education, to bring everybody up to speed. And you know, there's probably 500 years worth of entertainment right there, just with that, if you want to call it entertainment. I think music will go to a whole new level. We know about the solfeggio harmonics. I think it's going to go to another level. I think probably within 10 years or so, that music will be able to be played holographically, which means it literally will create a field in a room where it will assist in stress relief, in joy, creating joy, healing the body, healing mental illness. Because we are color, light, and sound. Well, everything is color, light, and sound. So music will become holographic. Television will be holographic. They're already beginning that, the manufacturing of that over in Japan, as I understand it, and some of it looks really, really good from what I've seen. Education. Education's the big one, because we have a responsibility to prepare the children to take our place, to manage the planet, to manage their individual countries, should they continue to exist in that format. So it is our responsibility to train them to manage up, to teach them to manage up. The law of consistency, so that every generation contributes and literally takes over and becomes more than the generation before it. And that is something we fully need to embrace, because that's the future of our civilization. You know, the Native Americans, specifically the Iroquois tribes of the Northeast, whenever they would come into council with other tribes, they would try to project their decisions out 7 generations. Now, it's difficult to know exactly what's going to happen 7 generations from now, hundreds of years. But the benefit of having those conversations is the fact that you clearly define what it is that you want for your people, for your families, for your nations, for your planet. And whether something happens or not that forces us to make a different choice or decision, the point is we're acting as opposed to reacting, because we've already begun those conversations. We have already begun to project what it is that we want for the future. And that will act as a form of headlights. We now at least know where we're going. If something happens, and we can make course corrections. But we're already in that mindset. We're already looking towards the future. We're expanding our ability and our intuition into the future to create the reality that we want. Whether it's 3rd density, 4th density, or 5th density, it doesn't matter. All those laws apply everywhere. Everywhere. And as a collective, if we're all doing it, 1, it makes it a lot more powerful. 2, we all have some say because we're vested in it. 3, we're not allowing a group of schmucks to make the decision for us and take us somewhere we don't want to go, and once again enslave humanity. We cannot ever allow that to happen. We have to be diligent about protecting our freedoms and the freedoms of future generations. And if anyone goes there and tries to do that, it is my humble opinion they need to be removed from the chessboard immediately. Don't even go there. Just take the piece off the board. Okay? It's gone. No negotiations when it comes to the freedom of humanity. None, zero, zilch, nada. I mean, just look at the shit that's happening now. You aware that? Anybody read the United Nations Agenda 2030 or Agenda 21? Has anybody read that? Do you know what these people want to do to humanity? It's unconscionable. It's absolutely unconscionable. We cannot ever go there again. So we have to set this right, put it on the rails that we want, and we have to protect it with our hearts, our souls, our minds, through prayer, and our individual focus and our collective focus as a humanity as to what it is that we want. I think the healing of humanity is going to take a while. I think we will get assistance, and I can't honestly tell you what that looks like. But it is not our destiny. It is not our destiny to be slaves. We have a lot to contribute. We need to think more highly of ourselves. That doesn't say we don't remain humble. But what it does mean is that we all need to know that each one of us has value. Value. And you got to believe it. You got to believe it yourself. And you got to know it yourself. And for each person individually, that's a different journey. But there will be those of us who really care about you who will remind you that you do have value. And in fact, there's just only one of you. There is just one of you. I mean, they may make clones, but they're not you. They'll never be you. They're a shell of you, but they'll never be you. And I think we'll outlaw cloning. I do. That's another thing. God, what a travesty that's turned into. That'll be all part of the disclosure. But with the technologies that are becoming, the ability to grow organs will be there. So there will not be a need to grow others, I think. It's limitless, the possibilities of what the future world will look like. And the timelines, I think the timelines will depend entirely on us, on how we embrace the future. And that's a difficult one to call because there are a lot of people who don't like change, that resist change, because they feel real safe in this box. And what has to be addressed first before they open up the box is their fears, what it is that they're afraid of. That has to be addressed first. And then once that's addressed, it's easier for people to embrace change and to move into the future. I wonder as I wander through time. I think the kids will get it a lot better than some of our current generations. But the generations that are alive right now today, especially our more senior and vintage citizens, we've been through a lot. Some have seen 2 world wars, other wars around the world. They've been through plagues and pestilence, earth changes, advancements in science. They've been through a lot. There's a tremendous amount of knowledge and wisdom there. And I want to emphasize wisdom there about the world and how it has worked and what does work and what does not. And as Richard Pryor once said, you don't get old being a fool. So we should treat our elders with a lot more respect than we do. Because they've earned it. Earth's a pretty tough school. At least it has been. They've earned the accolades. They've earned the respect. As long as they're not Hannibal Lecter. Okay.
My son wants to know, this is his question, not mine, what were the names of the first aliens to visit Earth? And I don't mean like Dick or Bob, but he wants to know, who were they? Where did they come from? And he wants to hear this from you and you alone, because I told him you were an alien expert.
Oh, well, I appreciate the mention, but I don't know that I'm an expert in anything. I don't know that there are any real experts, frankly. I genuinely mean that. I don't know that there's any experts at all. But if I were to answer his question, your son's question, who were the first? I would have to go back to the founders. And the founders are a collection of beings who literally created space and then physicality within the space. It is said that this group of beings, known as the founders, literally opened up and created a dimensional space, and then they would create physical life and physicality within that space. Now, you could call them archangels. Maybe that's applicable. Maybe you could call them the original sons and daughters of God, of Creator, Great Spirit, Isness. Maybe that's applicable. But I would say that they would be the first, because they literally created space and then physicality, so that each of these dimensions could be inhabited and life could discover itself and experiment with creating physicality, exercising power, learning about power, learning about how to abuse power, learning about love, learning about loss, learning about sorrow, all those things that are part of the creation. We would need the space in order to experiment and to learn by experience how to know and learn all these things, and to exercise the creation using our consciousness. I don't know what their names are, what they would have been. I don't know if they even would have had names, or just symbols, or just a tone, or just a frequency, which would be how they would recognize each other. That's the only answer that would be appropriate. For third density. Because billions, trillions of souls came in here, of which he's probably one of, to begin the process of learning how to become a creator. Some have been able to graduate, others have been stuck here. And I mean, that's a really great question, actually. And that would be a great forum question for everyone to participate in and to share their own ideas and perspectives on. So, but at the moment, that's all I got. I'm sure it wasn't Fred Ethel Herman. It wasn't anything like that whatsoever. You know, the A's, they don't actually have names either. They have a symbol. When they introduce themselves, they telepathically project a symbol. And it's essentially a holograph, which contains their resume, essentially. Mornay, Visayas, they took their frequency, their holograph, and tried to adapt it to a word that would be an identifying marker for me, so that I would know how to address them. And I could share their information with everybody else. If you're not telepathic, you know, how could I possibly share their holograph, their resume, their symbol? I couldn't. And my telepathic abilities are very limited here in third density after a visitation with them, after I'm with them. I'm telepathic with them, but when I'm down here, it lasts roughly 72 hours, and then I can't use it here. But of course, there's really nobody I can talk to here telepathically except maybe Merlin. You know, I talk to him, but you know, animals are telepathic anyway. So anyway, I don't mean to carry on. So
I have a little story that was told to me by our mutual friend Sean David Morton. He used to run a club. This club was subsequently bought by the artist known as Prince. And one day he said he used to hang around in the DJ box, and he said to Sean, you know, how do aliens address each other? You know, do they have names? And Sean exactly explained what you just said. And he sort of went, huh? And very soon after that, he became the artist formerly known as Prince and presented himself as a symbol.
Interesting. Well, he may have been thinking about that, because I know that he wanted to free himself from his record company as well, because they were leeching completely off of him. They were just a vampire.
Exactly.
So,
and he knew the whole thing about names. Yeah.
Yes. So that's interesting. I never knew that story. Thanks for sharing that, JP.
That's all right.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you found it insightful, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future updates. If you have any questions relating to today's video, please also leave them below. We read all the comments and take on board what our viewers have to say about Alex Collier's work. Remember, your support helps Alex Collier's knowledge and the messages from the Andromedans reach more people. If you'd like to support the channel even more, you can give us a super thanks tip by clicking the heart icon with a $sign. It really helps our team bring you more content. Also, be sure to visit alexcollier.org to sign up for our regular email newsletter. It's the best way to stay updated with the latest news, exclusive content, and upcoming live webinars. For the latest insights from Alex Collier, check out alexcollier.live. And if you want to explore over 250 past webinars, head over to alexcollier.tv. Thank you for being a part of this journey and supporting Alex Collier's work. We couldn't do this without you, and we're genuinely grateful for your support. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the vast mysteries of our universe. If you would like to see the Andromedan contactee Alex Collier live via video stream, we hold a live online seminar every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information on upcoming live webinars, please visit alexcollier.org.